Plus, we get to see ourselves on the video.
Or Sunday.
If you don't talk, the camera doesn't pan you.
I didn't get it.
Could just do that.
From who?
Jennifer.
Yeah, I never got any.
Let's just let's look at yourself. Yeah.
Okay, just we'll talk after.
6:15, board meeting has started
Yes.
and recording has started.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Mission vision, I will do that. TPMPD mission statement to provide a welcoming public aquatics facility managed in a fiscally responsible manner with a focus on educating all ages in the lifelong skills of water safety. We carry out this mission with a board and staff who are compassionate, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of our diverse community, working to foster positive and lifelong experiences with aquatic environments. The TPMPD vision statement, contributing to the quality of life for our community and for future generations through welcoming, fun, safe, and positive aquatic experiences at the Tukwila Pool. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Start with Jerry. She's been here a while.
Commissioner Jerry Frangella Anderson present.
Commissioner Andrew Stahl, present.
Commissioner Shipman present.
Commissioner Gango present.
Commissioner Zappel present, and we are also joined by our Executive Director, Brad Carpet. Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Commissioner Stahl, seconds.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, sorry, aye.
Vote.
That was me, I forgot. All those opposed? That is approved. We're gonna jump right into business item 8A. It's a special meeting, so we are only to discuss items that are on the agenda. And this is a temporary assignment of job duties for the aquatic program manager. We're seeking, presenting it for discussion and recommending approval. Brad, do you want to take this?
Hold on, go, so, sorry. We're good.
Oh, no.
Trying to get used to board notes
Keep
and
up.
keep up with the process. Recently, our new hire, district clerk, announced her resignation effective Monday, March 17th. Thank you. Due to that information, it leaves a void and a gap in our district office in the roles and responsibilities and the duties that are or were being completed by our party district clerk. Because of that, there's been some discussion about how we can kind of fill the gap internally before we rehire. With that said, we are discussing a temporary assignment of job duties for our aquatics program manager, who happens to be Anastasia Shapiro, who is, and I'm just going to keep rambling for a second, who is and has been supporting the district in some of the district clerk responsibilities.
And operationally.
And
At a higher
operationally.
level.
Correct.
Sorry.
No, please jump in. I need the help there. So with that, there's opportunity to really look at this position as a temporary assignment to continue to move our agenda forward and ensuring committee packets, board packet, and other items are effectively getting done. So we're not creating the same challenges we had when we were trying to fill the district role with our board president, clerk, and other committee members filling certain duties until the onboarding new individual. So in our current capacity, we are able, with this assignment, between myself and this temporary assignment, we are able to complete our current assignments as well as any of the district roles and responsibilities in the short term.
And as I mentioned in finance earlier, was that this has gone through our attorney. We checked with Brian, and in this form, he is fine with it. It meets the duties and salary test for exempt, as well as, so he was absolutely fine with the way that it was structured, and it's something that we can do in this manner. In the future, there's actually a policy that we could think about that I might be looking into, which would give the executive director the power to do this temporary kind of thing without it going through this, but that's a different later discussion. But right now, this is fine with Brian. And to be clear, once again, this position would add those operational pieces as well as the district pieces. And she wants to make sure that no one's working outside their job description, and that if they are doing duties, that they're getting compensated for.
So is, we're looking at this like being like an additional hours than what it would usually, like
Current
let's say your current responsibilities are 40 hours a week. Is this like, and then adding on an additional like 5, 10,
So the goal of
20 hours
this,
a week?
that's a great question.
That's just becoming exempt hours at that point. So.
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that. The whole position at this point would move to a temporary assignment as an exempt level position. In terms of the current 40 with whatever additional hours are accrued through that additional work.
And
So I don't know the number or the estimated work hours at this point. We've worked real hard to kind of keep everything within 40 hours with her current responsibilities and the work she was providing.
which she was
to the
already
district.
doing, she was already doing this.
Yeah,
To Aaron's point, yes.
Well, no, to Aaron's point, Aaron has a different profession than the profession I'm in. And I know that I spend quite a bit of time observing how people spend their workday. And, if you are budgeted to work 40 hours, then you pretty much work 40 hours. And you probably consider that you work more than you're getting paid for. I think what might happen as a result of this is that certain things that maybe are currently being done during the work week, like checking in with your lifeguard, instead of doing 15-minute check-ins, make sure everybody's okay, seeing how their weekend was and everything. Maybe those conversations become 5 minutes because you've got extra responsibilities. And so it actually might introduce some personal efficiency. But if it doesn't, if somebody feels, it's really important that I have a half-hour check-in every day with, this particular employee, then they're exempt, and it's not going to be a time and a half or double time or whatever.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm just as long as the employee is like fully aware, I'm sure they are, obviously, but that it isn't. Because that has been my own personal thing over the years, where I've always been like, nope, I will not be going exempt, just because the places that I have worked for over the years, that usually means we will take full advantage of that, and we will be working 60 hours a week or 80 hours a week.
And so we actually had that conversation throughout this whole, development, that's not the intention.
Right.
Because this person's actually already doing the bulk of this.
Because
as it
my
is.
main concern, like I said, I think that employee's a really great employee to have, and I would hate that we
Yes.
totally burn her out, no matter
And
what
It
compensation.
probably gives her more freedom to do work at home if she so chooses, if she wants to prepare for tax and stuff like that versus being stuck.
Well, she doesn't have to accept this either.
no, not
But
at
it
all.
has been discussed. This wasn't done without a discussion
Correct.
With her.
specifically to make sure that we were clear on what this would look like.
Well, and I think it should also be clear to her that if, in 2 weeks, she's like, whoa, I made a mistake, this was wrong, then she can say, you know what? I'm not interested in the extra $1,000.
That's a really good, yeah.
Well, or what's the potential of this position changing, for that position, because I said, you're obviously wanting to do restructure anyways
In the future, yeah.
in the future. So is this a transitional thing for that position changing in general, once we do have a new clerk put in?
Or could it be just an opportunity to
Yeah.
look at how, so that the I mean, let's face it, this district, our district has not had any luck with whatever we call it, the clerk position.
Okay, to be fair, we had, like Christine was a, good run.
Okay, right, but we've always, there's always been
Yes,
some.
that's where the
Yeah,
angst is.
so this might be a great opportunity to see, oh, okay, maybe, looking at this and doing this, maybe what we really need is a 10-hour admin, data entry person, who knows?
Executive assistant.
Yes, that's
Or
right.
executive assistant or whatever, I mean, just, kind of finalize
Gives us
and
some
crystallize
time.
it, yeah, I mean, and in the meantime, there's still work that needs to be done, and it might actually be beneficial, like Brad might say, you know what, I've got some front desk people and maybe they can do X and then, I mean.
Well,
just kind of
yeah,
look
that's, I
around.
think that's the next point I was gonna bring up, is just like, like through this process, is gonna like help, especially with that employee, being able to like allocate more stuff out. So that way they have less on their plate for the day-to-day operations part of it and can do a little bit more of the district's aspects.
Well, or the
Also-
operational higher level, and you already have started to see.
Yeah.
that.
Right.
I want to make it, I just want to make
Yeah.
it clear, so the district clerk roles and responsibilities aren't being diverted to one person.
Right.
So I will be assuming the pieces I'm already engaged in now, so the annual report, the auditing, so on and so forth. So the major pieces, public records pieces, the board stuff, all that's going to remain with me. So it's those additional pieces that Anastasia is already supporting us on, that she already has direct support with and knowledge, and is integrated within TPAC, PMOC programs, marketing, outreach. She's going to support us on those aspects until we do, and I think to your point, really flesh out what does this look like in the future. I am not for, I don't even know how much I want to say out loud now, but I think over time, to not rush filling this role, one allows us to look at the position a little differently.
Well, I
Two,
sorry,
yes,
yes.
absolutely. My desire to restructure kind of the top down from the day-to-day operations, but also the administrative side. And it allows us to look at our interview practices a little differently from what we've learned through this interview process and what we experienced through the 2.5, almost 3 months of employment. There may be some gaps that we quickly identified that we want to clean up, and we want to be intentional about the skills or the work, or maybe the position needs to morph into something completely different, where the district operations stay with the exempt level staff, and maybe the position becomes creatively a marketing, outreach, and events person. We talk a lot about marketing. We talk a lot about the videoing. We talk about enhancing our website, the brochure. Those are the one-offs that I could see being pulled in-house from a larger structure standpoint, as opposed to having a district clerk, whether or not you can meet their full-time needs or the workload, or are you going to lose them because a better or a bigger position that has benefits opens up elsewhere? I don't know why the individual specifically chose to move on outside the fact it could be a number of things, but we also need to be prepared and insulated should we lose a position like that again. It was a tough go from October to onboarding an individual. Onboarding an individual and catching them up to our nuances as a district, and hoping we have the right skills to kind of alleviate some of that pressure so we can all respectfully work in the areas we want to, is going to be an ongoing challenge. So I see this as an opportunity as a short term to really not test an individual, but give an individual an opportunity who is seeking growth, to experience what that looks like, to make sure this is even what she wants to do in the long term, while we still explore what that overall structure looks like, and when implementation would necessarily be required. But at this point, with this temporary assignment, this allows us to continue to get through the spring, prep for the summer, as we start making some pretty certain decisions on the structure, the overall structure of the organization.
On that subject, how long do you have a length of time you think this temporary assignment will be? 6
Until it
months,
ends.
year,
Oh,
whatever?
No, I can't envision this going 6 months or a year. Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. I think what we need right now in the immediate term is what we're discussing. I think the goal would be, prior to the end of June, there should be a pretty clear structure of our day-to-day operations as well as our district side.
Okay.
I think it's also a great opportunity. I think it's, you know, addressing some of the needs and having somebody who's flexible and nimble enough and interested in doing it to help fill is great. It gives you kind of some breathing room, and it's also an opportunity, and I would, you know, recommend that as executive director, you take a look at, you know, because there are some things that could seriously be contracted out to a third party where we wouldn't have to pay, you know, we wouldn't have to worry about the overhead and even, you know, we wouldn't, it might be something that, you know, let's just try, you know, some, you know, just to see and not be, you know, stuck with. Pardon?
Vested.
Yes.
So vested.
Yeah, not be vested in having a position instead of trying to, you know, create the position and throw somebody in it and hopefully they can fill it like a mold, and then it doesn't work and then everybody gets cranky. And
that's well said. I think we in organizations, all organizations, we have positions and they vacate and we fill. We have to have them, we have to fill them. And I think there's always the fear that if we lose a position, we lose it forever. I don't think that's the case here. So I like the idea, and I like this idea. It gives us, again, equity or that flexibility to really design what we think is best for the district, but also to align where we're going. And I think that's what this is going to allow us to do, especially with feasibility, our grant writing and everything else. What do we need to complement the work and the direction we're moving over the next 3 years? And I think that's what this is going to allow us to do with the right people in place.
And I like the being flexible and nimble and thinking, I mean, but just to be perfectly, honestly clear, the tasks that were being asked were not outside of what a job description for a clerk would have been. So we weren't asking for anything unusual or to requiring flexibility within the job duties.
right, but you know, this is also like a small business, like a family business in a way, where, you know, people are a lot more seem to thrive in this kind of environment. You have to be, you can't be a BoC corporate person. I think that somebody who was really used to very strict guidelines would be lost in this kind of environment, just because you need to have initiative and you need to be okay with being kind of moving all over, which I think, again, with the right kind of people, some people thrive in this kind of environment. So I'm excited about the opportunity. I think it's great that administration's interested. It's a great opportunity to review what you want.
So I'm actually looking for a motion. We can discuss more after.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Saul would like the motion to approve the temporary assignment of job duties for the aquatics program manager.
Commissioner Shipman seconds.
Is there any further discussion on this? I didn't want to stop the conversation. I just for process.
Well, I think my only other thing would be is there like a limit on what we are going to expect for time, so she does not get burnt out? And I guess that's up to you.
Yeah, and I'm conscious of that. That's my biggest thing. I don't want to see somebody being in an exempt position because they think it's just the flexibility to get the work done and however long it takes. That's not my goal, and nor how I like to operate. My goal is to continue to operate the way we're currently operating, where Anastasia is supporting the areas she already supports with TPAC, PMOC, packet, noticing she's helping out with the website. And these are things we're already indirectly doing, and we're updating our own things.
So yeah, so I guess I'm not too concerned, but I guess my only concern is, like I said, just because I presume that she hasn't had an exempt position before, and just so that that she is fully aware to support it. Because I mean, the worst often would be that, like, she's like, whoa, and then we lose 2 people, you know, and one of them is that's like really excelled so far. And that
there's some individual conversations. I know my goal is I do not want to lose Anastasia. I think Anastasia's done an incredible job for the district over the last, she's been with us 5 years, as long as I have. And she has shown tremendous growth. I think Anastasia is also self-aware. For that self-care, where I think if she starts to feel overwhelmed, and she's experienced it already, is I need to work half a day from home where it's quiet to get my job done, or can I just take half a day just to decompress with everything? Absolutely. So to be able to recognize that, one is great, but also to be able to do so without interrupting the department, I think is also key in terms of I have work to do, but I also need to find time for myself without interrupting my day-to-day responsibilities. And I think she's already starting to build that. She'll have me to lean on, and also to kind of help support where she needs that support. And obviously ongoing discussion support through regular check-ins and evaluation, I think is going to help her.
And I would think she'd continue to come to board meetings, so I think that the board could also check in.
Yeah, so,
But just to be perfectly clear, the intention is not to suddenly have someone working 60 hours a week. It is to compensate for duties being
she's
done.
already above.
So the 40 hours, is always the expected for exempt employees, but to give the flexibility to be able to work. So it's not that suddenly like, oh, we want her to do this,
Yeah,
40
no,
hours
I'm
plus
not,
all
I'm
that.
not too
So-
overly worried about that, like, just because of how, I think, our structure we've had, over the years. I'm just,
But,
want to voice it.
but Erin's point is well taken, because if she was taking 40 hours to do one job, and now she's gonna be adding duties, then something has to change, whether she's gonna be delegating more duties, she's gonna, some things are gonna be discussed with Brad and offloaded to other people, I think.
Yeah,
It'll
but I
make
mean, at
her
the same
more.
point, there's also, there's, like, I don't think anybody should have to do that, but people that do work 2 jobs, that do work 40 hours a week and then work 20 hours part-time somewhere else.
Well, that's the difference between exempt and hourly. The exempt is, is always challenged, like a lot of
Right.
companies say you can't have another job if you're exempt.
Right, and so, but basically, it's like, it's giving that person the opportunity to basically work 2 jobs, we get 1 paycheck. but
Oh, I see
still-
what you're saying,
but
sorry.
You know what I mean, like, if they wanted to moonlight and keep doing it somewhere else, lifeguarding 20 hours a week someplace, type thing, they have the opportunity to do that.
As long as they have their exempt duties done.
Yes, as long as
No,
they
no,
meet
no,
their.
what I'm saying is just that, like,
The change would,
that people, wherever they work, can work more than 40 hours a week. Some people choose to work 40 hours at one job for
I
one
know,
company and 20 hours somewhere else, versus like, I also don't see, like, if that person is okay with working 10, 20 hours more a week, I don't see that as being a problem, as long as they are aware of that,
Well, and I think.
and I said they are gonna be compensated.
And it
a chunk
goes to the
more.
person. My husband loves a lot of buffer. He is not one that if something needs to get done, it's not like his sense of urgency, he'll get freaked out. Sorry, Tom, don't listen to him.
We love
But he just, he wants buffer. So if in this position, the person is like, oh, I'm not taking on this and I need to do this, and decides, well, for me, with my disposition, I prefer to work an additional 10 hours over the 40, and that way not get myself crazy.
more comfortable.
Yes, for her own comfort,
Right.
then that's a choice, but I totally agree with you.
But once again, duties already being done, so it's not a huge, job, it's just formalizing it and compensating appropriately.
I think from a mental health standpoint, that's the piece I haven't discussed yet. I think this allows somebody that is doing those additional duties not to be so compressed, right, within those 40 hours, or I'm not approving overtime.
Right,
And then it's like, oh my gosh, but I'm helping and I'm doing, and I gotta do the registration, but I'm also supporting or indirectly support. I think this is gonna help alleviate some of that stress to where
right, even it is just like working like an extra hour a day type thing.
you're not rushed out the door when you're
Yeah.
just wrapping up the
Right,
tail
just
end of
because
what
you're worried
catching up
about getting
on.
yourself sitting on overtime.
Exactly, and I think that's a big piece of this component, because I just reviewed our EAP, we have contract in June, where I think this is a big component of it, and I think to the point, we don't want to burn her out, and I sure as heck don't want to lose it. And I think this would be pretty, I think this would be well managed, because it's already working between Anastasia and I. And I think, again, those additional duties she's adopted, I think are going to be well distributed throughout the week, where she can kind of play within that 5 days. And if she needs that extra time, she knows she has it within the appropriate margin.
And have you already seen her, like with Mako Sharks, kind of putting some duties on some of the,
Absolutely.
so you've already seen some different.
She's done, like, I have nothing but great things to say about watching this young person grow professionally and being faced with challenges from a programmatic standpoint. And I've seen her literally coach up her team or identify specific skill sets so she isn't burnt out, so she isn't the one coaching 3 days a week in addition to her 40 hours worth of responsibilities, in addition to weekend meetings and TPAC and PMOC. This is an individual who is very much aware, who is beyond most people in her bracket and as a graduate, who has shown a tremendous level of professionalism, response, the ability to receive and work through feedback. I think we see it on an ongoing basis, and I think we're starting to see better parts of it, especially at our committee meetings and through our programs and our events. And that's where I kind of get excited to allow this individual to start slowly. And the best part of this is a safer way of exploring an exempt level position to really understand, do you want to be in Parks and Rec? Do you see yourself here another year or 2 years? And not that you have to be as in any profession, but this is a nice little tiptoe into that water before we make any bigger changes from an operational standpoint. My goal is I want to do this one time for the next year or 2 years. I don't want to do it 3 more times. And I think this allows us that breathing room to really hope to get it right for whatever structure we end up with.
And a way for her to be more autonomous in what she's doing and to empower, like, you know, to memorialize it here on the duties and say, no, this is what you are responsible for. And that way she can own it.
She does already maintain our WCIA alternate position, just so everybody's aware on roles and responsibilities. That is something that she's been tagging on to.
She's already been advising on policies and
Starting to her own policy for the board.
coordinating the TPAC meetings.
Yeah.
And even when I was doing the agenda packets, she was very helpful if I needed things done on a district, you know, inside the district, helping with the agenda packets and making sure I had everything. And putting stuff on the website when I asked, she didn't have one at that point, she was doing other stuff, but anytime I needed anything for sure on the website. So as far as skill wise. Is there any further discussion, Jerry? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the temporary assignment and job duties to the aquatics program manager, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 643.
643.
Make a motion to,
Yep, there's no executive session tonight, so
make a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Saul seconds.
any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We're adjourned.
Second.